The Rams brought the belt to Arizona's ass and spanked it bright red. There is a path for the Chargers to post an upset tonight against the Super Bowl champs, and USC gets its bowl game, while a key rival takes their wee little ball and goes home. Good morning. I'm James, and this is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the Faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It's December 6, 2025. Welcome back to Ice Station Alpha in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We added yet another new subscriber, for which I'm always grateful. We're going to do our best to keep you informed here. And if you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop an update. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. By all means, comment. Now, before we go through the news and notes, we have an expanded look at the scoreboard today because it is football season. Rams 45, Arizona 17. I don't think anybody had to be Nostradamus to forecast this one coming. The Rams reclaimed the top spot in the NFC with offensive shock and awe. Matthew Stafford threw 3 touchdown passes, 2 to Puka Nacua. Meanwhile, I will admit being wrong about one thing, saying that Arizona should be good against the run. Wrong. Blake Corum became the second back to rush for more than 100 yards against the Cards. 128 yards with 2 touchdowns. The Rams' offense was so fluid that they only faced 1 third down in the first half. Now, you're going to hear a lot of talk about the Rams being the most complete team in the NFL. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Although they are definitely a Super Bowl contender and possibly the best team in the league, the pass defense is a little suspect. Arizona's Michael Wilson caught 11 passes Sunday, 2 for touchdowns. But right now, it is what it is. If you're a Rams fan, take pleasure in watching that offense run. Sean McVay has reinvented himself yet again. Also, Lakers 112, Philadelphia 108. Luka Doncic led with 31 points. LeBron James 29. Meanwhile, today, Philadelphia is at the Chargers at 5:15. Now, the LA Daily News says for the Chargers to win, Justin Herbert has to be at his best. And I don't see that playing out at all. First of all, the dude had surgery a week ago. How could he possibly be at his best? See, my gut feeling is this is going to be a painful, brutal game. Not painful as in your feelings are going to get hurt. I mean the medical cart is going to put in some miles because both teams have reason to establish the run. And both teams think the opposing team sucks at stopping the run. This is going to be ground and pound, in my opinion. Look at the quarterbacks. We already mentioned Herbert, the surgery, the fact that he's going to wear a special glove to try and keep that surgically repaired hand in one piece. How do you take center snaps with that? Are you going to be able to throw your best passes with that? Kind of doubt it. Meanwhile, over at the Eagles sideline, Philly fan has already turned on Jalen Hurts for a reason. And again, you look at both teams' defenses. The Bolts have issues against the run again, thanks to letting Poona Ford go to the Rams. But the Eagles are missing defensive tackle Jalen Carter. So this tells me both teams should want to establish the run at all costs. The Chargers to protect Herbert. The Eagles simply because they have Saquon Barkley. Now, I'll give grace to the Chargers' running game. Kamani Vidal has succeeded even if Omarion Hampton isn't going to be 100% tonight. And the Eagles, by the way, last week, steamrolled by Chicago's running backs. So there is a path for the Chargers. There is a path. And because it would be an upset, it's tempting to be Mr. Hot Take. Among other reasons, to forecast a Charger victory, the Eagles have to make a cross-country flight to play a game that starts way after their bedtime. The Chargers, I would also argue, have a lot more to play for because they're in a scramble for a playoff spot, and Philly definitely has a stranglehold on first place in the NFC East. I would even argue the Eagles' offense has gotten complacent because they're the defending Super Bowl champs. Complacency happens. That's one of the reasons that the Dodgers going back-to-back was so impressive in the first place. But the Chargers' questions are more basic and more troubling. We've discussed it all year. The lousy offensive line. How much can Herbert withstand? So you put that all together, and I think Philly wins. But I wouldn't be surprised to see an upset either. Also, the Kings are at Utah tonight at 6. So with that out of the way, what do you say we get to the news? To the surprise of nobody who makes their living forecasting bowl games. And by the way, predicting who's going to be in what bowl, that's one way to waste your life. USC is heading to San Antonio to play in the Alamo Bowl against TCU on December 30th. Lincoln Riley has guided the Trojans to 4 consecutive bowl games, and I acknowledge I have defended Riley quite a bit. But that stat, 4 consecutive bowl games, it's kind of meh. We do recognize reality here. It's meh. Because you should expect USC to be in, at minimum, a decent bowl game. Riley would admit that. So, what I can tell you at first blush is this should be a test of the Trojans' pass defense. Josh Hoover passed for almost 3,500 yards and 29 touchdowns. But the reason I'm not trying to give you this big breakdown on the Alamo Bowl now, it's transfer portal season. Both teams could be damn near unrecognizable by the time there's kickoff. Speaking of which, another linebacker has left for the portal. And in this moment, I'm starting to wonder if we should believe how much people actually love Rob Ryan. I mean, we've been hearing it for decades if you've been watching football, which I have. Even back when he was in the NFL and not building quality defenses in Oakland, Cleveland, Dallas, the argument was always the same. Oh my God, the players love Rob Ryan. They love him so much. All the love, all the feels. Well, if that's true, why have 3 USC linebackers entered the transfer portal? Garrison Madden, to be honest, he was more of a special teamer than a linebacker. But the linebacking room at Heritage Hall was thin this season. Why didn't any of these guys improve enough to get decent playing time alongside Eric Gentry? There were jobs to be had at linebacker at USC. Is it Rob Ryan's issue? Here's something that semi-sorta should impact USC. Notre Dame is not going to the college football playoffs, and I have to say, it's a well-deserved decision. Quick side note, props to new UCLA coach Bob Chesney for punking the Irish by guiding James Madison to that final playoff berth. Well done, coach, but I digress. Notre Dame then decided not to attend any bowl game in protest of not going to the college football playoffs. Quit like a champion today, right? For which I would like to remind Notre Dame Athletic Director Pete Fuqua that whining is profoundly un-Catholic. As a hymn-singing papist, I would know. I've had my hand smacked with a ruler by a nun more than once over that. Moreover, not saying that you're too good for an average bowl smacks of pride, smacks of envy, which are 2 of the deadly sins. But those are not the only reasons why the fleeing Irish do not deserve to go to the playoffs. It's not even the only story about why Notre Dame is basically punking. They're being a punk, a bunch of punks. Look, for almost an entire year, the Notre Dame athletic department has taunted USC because the Trojans want to adjust the battle for the jeweled shillelagh to earlier in the season. They want to keep the rivalry, but both programs only want to do so on their terms. This is what negotiating is all about. So what does Notre Dame do? Right? Oh, Lincoln Riley and the Trojans are cowards. And because the Scribes hate Riley and it was an emotional screed, remember, the Scribes are way too caught up in their feels to use intellect. They fell for that narrative, like lemmings. Nobody asked the Trojans why they wanted the game in the early part of the season. It's because, and I've said this on this program before, they're making these cross-country flights, often facing national powers week after week. This year's game against the Irish was the middle game sandwiched around national power Michigan and a road game at Nebraska. Notre Dame is trying to make things in their advantage as much as possible to get to the college football playoffs. How do we know this? Because Notre Dame, just prior to facing SC, played North Carolina State. And after USC got the week off. But we're supposed to believe that the Trojans are cowards. We're supposed to believe that Notre Dame is going to take on all comers at all times. They won't even go to a bowl game. Notre Dame played just 3 ranked teams this year and finished 1-2. Their schedule finished with 3 teams that didn't win more than 4 games. Kind of easy to have a long winning streak when you're facing Boston College, Syracuse, and Stanford. It's a fraud schedule. Of course they shouldn't have made the college football playoffs. If anyone is running from a tough opponent, it's Notre Dame. It has always been Notre Dame. Making their own schedule, forcing everything to their advantage. They want USC toward the end of the season because the Irish would be healthier than the Trojans after USC ran a gauntlet of Big Ten football teams. The last thing the Irish want is the Trojans at full strength. Just like in retrospect, it wasn't a good idea to face Miami when the Hurricanes were at full strength, and Notre Dame, they FAFO. Bavacqua and his ilk are lying. They were lying about the Trojans then, they're lying about the bowl thing now, and they will continue to lie. Notre Dame needs USC way more than USC needs Notre Dame. Because if the Trojans do wind up backing out, which Notre Dame doesn't have to do this, but if the Trojans do back out, who are the Irish going to replace them with? Wyoming? That's not going to sway pollsters, guys. I see through the Fighting Irish. Notre Dame scheduled down because they are the cowards, and the College Football Playoff Committee recognized it and responded accordingly. Notre Dame ended the Michigan rivalry. USC picked them up. Your whining is the weakest of sauce out there in South Bend. So play USC in September and schedule up for a change. And that's the memo. If you're a USC fan, let me know what you think. A hockey scribe who built his career as an insider for TSN, which is the Canadian version of ESPN, reports that the Kings are fielding calls for center Philip Deneau. Now, at one point, dude was a very good addition to LA because he was a poor man's Anze Kopitar, a two-way center. He was originally the team's second-line center. They wanted Quentin Byfield to develop alongside Kopitar. Well, now Deneau is 32 and his production is waning. He only has 8 assists, 0 goals. This is a possibility that has some upside and some dramatic downside. Here's the plus. Deneau could still get a solid return in a trade. because the market for centers is not deep. Here is the profound minus. Who do you replace him with? And, oh, by the way, Kopitar is retiring. So center, which has been a strength for the Kings for many, many years, would all of a sudden be one of the weakest parts of the franchise. Former Dodger Jeff Kent has been elected to the Hall of Fame, but he spent the majority of his career with Scum Francisco and spent his entire career being a pain in the ass. So there's that. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me about the Rams getting back in their dominating ways, or for that matter, do you see a path for the Chargers to post an upset tonight? And if you enjoyed the update, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day. Thank you for watching. I'm James, and we'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortel Queso production. Take care.